All right, so today we are doing knee and patella. You're going to use the bucky for these, okay? So we've used the wall bucky, and you know that we have our marks on the floor that let us know when we're at 40 and 72 inches when we're using wall. When we're using the table bucky, it's a little bit different, okay? So we have the marker here on the tower that tells us 40 inches, but how do we know that we're at 40 inches to the image receptor? Whenever we raise the table up, there's a stop on it that stops at the blue light or stops and a blue light turns on, and that means that we're at 40 inches to the image receptor if we're at 40 inches here, okay? So that's going to be your starting setup for that. So I'm gonna have you go ahead and lay down for me and go ahead and raise our table up. Hit the back button. There it goes. Okay, so since we're using a bucky, we have to be in detent, right? So right there, it does stop and that blue light at the bottom turns on. It will go higher than this. So just when it stops on its own, you're there, okay? Same thing coming down. So blue light's on, I'm at 40 here, and then my image receptor is going to go in the bucky. It is the same as the wall bucky, except we don't need to use the little shelf because we don't have gravity working against us. So put this in here in line with the 12 here at the bottom and the 12 here. Squeeze them together and work on with our IR, okay? For knee and patella both, we're going to use a 10 by 12 lengthwise, and then we need to make sure we're in detent this way. So for one view for the patella, we do it out of the bucky and you don't have to be in detent, but for everything else, if you're using the bucky, it's gotta be in that little groove, right? With knee, we talked about our angulation, right? So for AP knee, it depends on our patient's thickness, whether or not we angle for it. So for a patient 18 centimeters or less, we're gonna angle 5 degrees caudate, so 5 degrees toward the toes. For a patient 19 to 24 centimeters thick, we're not going to angle at all. We keep our centroid perpendicular, okay? For 24 centimeters or more thick, we're going to angle 5 degrees cephalad. For most people, they fall within that 24 centimeter range. In the real world, you're going to see that you're going to angle 5 degrees cephalad for everyone. But we have that range or those different, whatever, numbers to decide whether we're angling or which way we're angling for the AP and the oblique. But then the lateral, we angle for everybody. Why do we angle for everyone on the lateral? 5 to 7 because the condyles aren't perpendicular, right? So we have to get that medial condyle pushed up with our angulation to get them perpendicular so that we can get through that knee joint, all right? So for practicum, you guys can go ahead and angle 5 degrees cephalad for all 3 views, okay? Everyone in this room, minus these 3 girls, would probably be 5 degrees cephalad in the real world anyway. So we'll just do it for everyone. So 5 cephalad. If you're shorter, you may have to bring the tube down to your height to do your angulation, then bring it back up, okay? So, blue light, 40-inch here, in detent. Now we have to line up our image receptor, okay? So your bucky comes up and down the table. It's got a black button just like the wall bucky does, and it'll slide up and down. Right now it's maxed out this way. So if my tube were this direction, I have to move my tube to line it up, right? I can't bring this anymore. If I move the tabletop, that doesn't fix anything. So I bring my tube this direction until it's lined up. Use your little laser, and we're good, okay? Collimation, because I'm at 40, we're gonna use that 40-inch line again, 12 top to bottom, 10 side to side. And for knee, we pretty much are just going to leave our collimation open, okay? Let me get a marker. You can collimate side to side if you want to, but top to bottom, just leave it open the 12, okay? Shielding, we're going to just put the shield over our patient's kind of core. I like to put it at like diamond. That way we're covering as much as we can up high, and then it gets lower as well. So For AP knee, my centering point is going to be a 1/2 inch below the patellar apex. So I'm gonna move my patient. For most people, this is gonna be at the bottom of like the fat area of the knee. Like when we look at a knee, you know how it has the round portion? We're centering at the bottom of that round portion. So find your patellar apex, which is the bottom, and go a 1/2 inch below that. And a left marker there, and that was your AP knee. Yeah.
Was it this one, or was it the knees that you were saying that the marker is important?
No, that's femur.
Femur?
That's
okay.
Next.
Sorry.
Next segment. No, for this one, your marker just here in the leg field on the outer side is fine. It can go on the inner side, but I think it looks pretty over here. So AP, 5 degrees cephalad, centering a 1/2 inch below the patellar apex, which is the bottom portion of the patella, okay? For the oblique, you should not have to move any of this, just your patient, okay? So we're going to internally rotate the leg 45 degrees. So make sure when you're rotating that the entire leg rotates, okay? Not just the foot. Remember, patient turn his whole leg inward about 45, right about there. And with this, your centering stays the same, a 1/2 inch below patellar apex, but am I going to center way over here so I'm in line with the patella? No. We're going to center on what is facing upward, okay? So still in the same 1/2 inch below, but it's going to be more lateral than the actual patella itself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So still find that 1/2 inch below, but then we're gonna come more laterally, and that's okay. Now, when you roll the leg, we don't want our patient's butt to roll with it, because then you're gonna end up with a lot of OID. You already have some with this position as it is, so make sure that they keep their butt flat and just roll the leg, okay? All right, so oblique, 45 degrees internal rotation, 5 degrees cephalad angle, okay? For the lateral, my patient's gonna lay all the way on his left side for me. Oh, the same thing happened with Corey's yesterday. And then, so I want you guys to look at something. If he keeps his leg back like this, look at these femoral condyles, okay? They are not perpendicular with each other. And then if you bring that leg over, do you see how the knee rolls?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you can you get your foot like flat? There you go. So the point here is we're getting the pelvis completely in a lateral position, and then that therefore rolls the leg completely in a lateral, okay? So then now, that's like my little trick. So then now the condyles are perfectly perpendicular with each other, and then how much are we bending for a lateral knee? No.
What's it, 20?
20 to 30. That's for the patella. So for the knee, we're bending 20 to 30. So go ahead and bend right about there. And then now we are centering 1 inch below that femoral condyle. So we poke and you can feel the bony point there. Come about 1 inch below. And really that puts us about in line with like the flex of the knee, okay? Left marker there, make sure our light field is all the way there, and that's our lateral knee. So keep that 5 to 7 degrees cephalad, find that femoral condyle, go 1 inch below it, and then leave your collimation open. Okay, so that's lateral.
Do you have any tips for estimating the 20 to 30 degree angle, or do we just have to practice it?
It's just, I guess not really. It's just kind of where it looks like relaxed flexed, I guess, is kind of how I think about it. So like they're not putting any kind of stress or tension on the flexion, and they're not putting any stress or tension on straightening it. It's just kind of like a relaxed bend. So you want the patella to be kind of free floating. We don't want it sucked down either way. So when you look at it, just kind of making sure that that patella looks relaxed out, and then that the knee is not hyperflexed, I think is the biggest thing. I'm not going to be measuring with any kind of device, but it's just making sure we're not overflexing so we're not closing any kind of joint, okay?
Okay.
So AP, medial oblique, and then lateral. Those are our 3 for the knee. 5 to 7 degrees for the lateral on everybody, AP and medial oblique, that can vary depending on our patient. For practicum, I'm okay with using it on all of them, okay? Centering for the AP and the medial oblique is a 1/2 inch below the patellar apex, lateral an inch below the femoral condyle, okay?
Okay.
So let's go ahead and move on to the lateral patella because we're already here. First thing, we take our angle off, okay? So because we're not looking at the knee joint now, we're looking at the patella and the patellofemoral joint, all right? So no angle. We're not worried about that medial condyle anymore. With that, we have to make sure that, we're lined back up, okay? Obviously, you wouldn't be doing these in order with each other, but took my angle off, realigned to my image receptor. And then for this one, it is only 5 to 10 degrees of flexion, right? So the best way to do this, have your patient straighten their knee completely, lock it, and then literally just unlock the knee, okay? We just want that little baby bit of flexion to allow the patella to come away from the femur. So straighten the leg all the way and then just unlock it. And then our centering for this is the patellofemoral joint. So feel your patient's patella and then center just posterior to it, okay? Collimation, we can collimate top to bottom. And side to side, we just need to have room for a marker. We're not worried about the posterior portion of the knee, okay? So for lateral patella, straighten the leg all the way, just unlock it, center right posterior to that patella, and then put your marker there, all right? The next view for the patella is a PA patella. Why are we doing it PA? OID. So you have your patient laying on their stomach this time. And with that, the shield is going to go over their back, right? We're not going to put the shield over their stomach because then if they did get any scatter x-ray, it would be being held in, essentially. So if you notice, most people when they lay down, their legs kind of fold outward, and so his patella is not flat on the IR. So we have to kind of roll the leg inward a little bit so that that patella is flat to the image receptor, okay? Parallel to our image receptor. Still no angulation, nothing like that. We center at the mid-popliteal surface. What is the popliteal surface? The crease, the bend of the knee, okay? So most people, you can tell where that is. And then we're gonna open side to side. So I have room for a marker on the left. And that is my PA patella, okay? So make sure, like I said, feel and make sure that the patella is actually against the image receptor and parallel. And then center mid-popliteal, throw a marker on the table in the light field, okay? Top to bottom, you can see I'm only open that much because our patella is only that big, right? The size of $50 probably. And so then the third view for this is going to be our Setagast or our sunrise. So now my patient's going to lay on his back. Now, roll you all around here. All right. Shielding again. And then with this one, there is no exact angulation, okay? I don't know why my voice has been doing this last 2 weeks. So we're going to start at this 0. Okay, so turn your tube so it's facing this direction. And then I'm gonna start at about 15, but there's no guarantee that's going to happen. So my patient is going to bend his knee all the way up. Turn that red button, please. Okay, so bending the knee up, gonna turn my light field on here, and we're gonna do a couple of experiments here. So if you look back, you'll be able to see it. All right, so right now, the patella is completely sucked down to the femur because he has his knee completely bent, okay? If we bring the foot downward, do you see how you get a little biscuit popping up? Some people call this like the biscuit view or the sunrise view. So now, where the patella is sitting here on, is this your messed up knee?
No.
No.
The other side.
Okay. So we have the patella sitting there, and you see how it kind of pops out and is more visible now. So the goal here is we want to see that little bump coming up, and then we're angling and centering to essentially chop off that patella, okay? So my angulation should match the angle of the knee right here. We're coming through, the laser's right here underneath the patella, and then I'm going to give my patient an image receptor, and I really liked how the girl said this morning, you're gonna hold it like you're reading a book, because you're not gonna hold it straight up and down. Because we want, if this is the case, we want everything to be in alignment with itself, right? So if he's holding it like that, now my image receptor is going to have distortion, versus if I match my angulation. So that's the point. This angle is matching the angle of that joint. Come on further out. And then this one is gonna match the image or the central ray. Does that make sense? Do you guys see that? So, calm it down just a little bit more, and then we would throw a left marker. You're gonna have a sticky one onto that IR, okay? So, again, this is not a specific angle, it's just however much your patient's knee is flexed to get that little biscuit free, and then coming through and matching it with the image receptor. Okay?
Okay.
So, that is that. If your patient has a hard time reaching that IR, you can have them sit up to hold it too. Another thing to be mindful of is, especially in older people, if his toes are up, the likelihood of his toes ending up in the image are great. So put your toes back down. You can't really see it there, but it will end up, because it's in the middle of the light field, showing up there. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, so there are the rest for practicum. So today I want you guys to all practice a knee and or patella, but you also can practice the other stuff from last week too for practicum. Take your weighted blanket.